Well, as you can see, I got a new camera, so bear with me as we test it out. Right, kitty? He's dying inside. So I'm going to react to something that I've actually been probably requested to maybe more than anything else other than more Radiohead. This is going to be Turn on the Bright Lights. I have literally never heard anything from Interpol. I literally have no idea what any of their music sounds like. So that's what my context is going into this. This camera is nutty. Look at that. It's crazy. It's actually Christmas Eve night right now. And yeah, I don't know how far I'm going to get, but we'll see where we get to. Untitled. That okay. Turn it up. Just the first thing that struck me is just the patience. Like from the first bass note that hit, it wasn't actually the root note of the chord. It was something else, and then it resolved, and that kind of like signified that we're dealing with something a little more patient, because we're not always getting to the most friendly sound right at the start. Sometimes it's dissonant, sometimes it's building, and that's what I love. I love bands that take the time to build up to that massive payoff, because the way that modern music works is that you have the build up and payoff within the four chords over and over again. That's why people use those four chords. I don't know how much trouble this is going to get me in, but I get instant vibes of like early Coldplay. I'm not sure of the band drama. I know when I was reacting to Radiohead, there were some issues. This strikes me as such a specific time period, and I picture like a very specific situation for this song. It's a very rainy day. It's mid-2000s. It's dreary even almost, but there's a lot of beauty in it too. So let's keep going, see what we get. There's that bass part. Nice. Oh, you hear that note? That's what I'm talking about. That dissonance there. That's what I'm there for. That's what I like. It's like juicy stuff. It really seems like they put in the time to make the soundscape that they want. Like within the tones. And even his vocal delivery too. This seems like the big song on the album. There's a lot of views or listens. Okay. More energy. There are so many bands that I want to reference when I'm talking about this because whenever you listen to new music, you always put it through your lens of experience. Vocal delivery reminds me of something like the Killers, the early Killers, especially with the way the vocals are produced with that like almost bit crushed sound, not necessarily bit crushed, but like distorted vocal sound. I love the groove. There's actually so much changes already in the song. Even though they kept like the feel of the song, they switched up the drums and the bass to that like almost disco open hat sound with like scooping bass notes. You got a lot here already. And actually, it's kind of like motivating me to want to pull up the lyrics, even though I never do lyrics on the channel, because when you first listen to a song, there's only so much you can get out of it. I'm trying to like digest 50 different things in one listen. I feel like it's pointless to look at the lyrics, but I want to pull them up for this one, just for this one song. Let's see what we see. Is that patience I was talking about? So it's very dramatic delivery. Although I did mention how the last song specifically called back to a style of music typically found in the early 2000s, or maybe more like mid or late 2000s, the production on this song does not sound like 2002. I will say it sounds very modern. It sounds like a lot of bands were inspired by this band. That's my guess. The song was released in 2002, yet it has a nostalgic feel of the 2000s for us, but it was written, it seems to be, as a song that's nostalgic of a time before then, which is interesting how that generational divide, it passes on to each previous generation. It's very cool. What's that? Yeah, that sounds awesome. I will say I've always had a really specific affinity for songs that manage to create a really solid repeating pattern. So the guitars there and the drums were repeating like the same line over and over again, and he was singing a similar thing over and over again, but the bass was just changing notes throughout the whole thing. It's interesting how when you set up something like that, each bass note carries such a different feeling and vibe to the entire situation. Even though everything's staying the same, the root note, it really changes the feel of everything. So just from measure to measure, you were getting such a different vibe. It would go from something hopeful or positive to something maybe off or negative. That was awesome. As I said, such a nostalgic song, and I love the energy that they brought to it. After the first song, I was a little bit worried that maybe the album is going to take a slower and somber approach, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I do like some energy spliced throughout the album, and I mean, we got it in track 2. So far that's 2 for 2. Great production, great singing, fantastic mixture of all the instruments. Everyone's doing their part perfectly. Love the harmonization there. Okay. I love when songs do that. Completely throw you off when the drums come in.
I'm sick of spending not to care. The subway is a porno. The pavements that I know you supported.
Saw that extra beat. The tremolo guitar is awesome. Oh, I know someone who's gonna love this song. I'm gonna share it to them. Said it. Sounds like we got something swanky coming up. Okay, so that song, I love how it had that 3/4 feel, but then it would just randomly add, not randomly, but on the 4th measure, it would add that extra beat because it gave us this waltz sound, you know, like you could sway back and forth to it, but then it kept you on your toes, interestingly enough. Because it's a song you could easily get just totally lost and absorbed in, and that's kind of why I didn't want to pause it, because I feel like that's one of those songs where it doesn't want you to analyze it as much. It kind of wants you to just get lost in the feeling, despite the interesting time signatures. I'm glad that I allowed myself to let that happen. There were a couple like creative choices that I really, really, really liked, like that tremolo guitar that started, I think it might have started on the right or center, and then it slowly was like panning around, and then it totally absorbed the whole song, and it just took over with there was like a slight amount of strings on the side. It was like ear candy. I wonder if there's any candy I could put in my ears. Why did I just say that? So far it sounded like we've had kind of like a chill song, and more like a energetic song, and then a chill song, and now we're gonna have another energetic song. Sounds like it. Let's go. So many people have copied this style, I think. It's a 5-minute song. Hear that bass? Okay. They really mix those guitars super loud. It's an interesting choice. You always have the left and right harmonizing with each other, and they're usually playing like consistent notes, like 16th notes or 8th notes, just over and over again. It's a really interesting choice because what it's kind of something like the Arctic Monkeys. They would do stuff like that before too. It allows for a lot of harmonization, and because the vocals seem to be like melodically more simple, a lot of the melodies and harmonies tend to come from those guitars. So it would make sense to mix them super loud. They are awesome, but they are really aggressively loud. See what I think going forward. Bass is just ascending. Slowly building. Nice. Oh my god, this sounds like... That was so juicy. I love this part. Okay. Okay. They're really not afraid to play with those guitars doing dissonant notes, which I love. Yeah. That build up again. The backing vocal. Okay. Haven't really heard any of those yet. There we go, the guitars being that lead melody. Sounds so textured. Oh, it's so good. Okay, this is awesome. This is a long build-up. Oh, that sounds so nice. Let's go. Okay, so that's exactly what I was talking about, with those guitars really taking the forefront in these songs. And the parts that they play are not necessarily technically complex, but it's more about the melodic and harmonic structures that are so complex, because they're just riffing off each other, playing, again, like I said, dissonant notes, passing tones. There's stuff that just seems to conflict and then it resolves shortly after. And that's what I love with music, is that push and pull. And you got it like strong in each headphone because they're hard panned, which gives it the super wide sound. It gives space for the vocals right in the middle. But the way they do it is so, again, it brings back that like classic sound. And maybe it's classic because of them. I don't really know the like history of this type of music because it's not the type of music I've typically listened to throughout my life. but it sounds like historic, but not like in an old way. It sounds just modern and fresh. As, like I said, like it could have been released today in terms of the production as well. So it's got that timeless feel, but it has a classic sound it's calling back to, and that's what makes it probably so timeless. Oh, I'm getting wacky, getting goofy. How are they gonna throw me off this time when they come in? Oh, give me the feedback. Not what I expected at all. Let's go. Octaves on the bass. I love this so much. It's really in like super stark contrast to the last stuff we just listened to too, because it's like I said, I mentioned before how like everything was very consistent throughout the song before, where they're always playing like the 8th notes, the 16th notes throughout the whole song, but now here we're getting such a sharp groove that has like cutoff points where things stop. There's less reverb, it's less washed out. Yeah, this is so much more jagged, sharp. They know when to swap it up. Such an infectious energy, you know? It feels like every few seconds there's just something. Just know when to do it. Love this energy. Just feed off of it. I eat it. Oh, that's infectious. It's so different from the other stuff. Oh, that's a thick bass. A thickie. Camera's dying. It died when I came back. I can listen to the rest real quick. Alright, well, like I said, my camera's dying, so I don't have much time. I'm gonna lose you. I had no idea what to expect going into this, because I just had no point of reference at all. I loved the energy, I loved the creative direction, I loved the production, and I love how, despite the age, it seems so timeless. I've done a song that sounds a tiny bit like this style. If you're interested in that, click at the top of the thing. Yeah, hopefully I'll come up with part 2. A relatively short amount of time. My bad. Sorry, I'm a little flustered. All right, see you guys.